Hey, this is Coach Woolley, the holistic trainer, and this is a demonstration of the supine pelvic rock. Now, this is a very simple yet valuable exercise to learn how to position the hip joint. And why this is important is because we spend a lot of time being sedentary, and when we spend a lot of time in any one position, our hips may get locked in that particular position. So we lose the ability to have freedom of movement of our hips. And some people will be locked in what's called an anterior tilt, in which their lower back has a lot of curvature and their hips are tilted forward. And other people are locked in what's called a posterior tilt, in which their lower back is rounded or flat and their hips are tucked backwards. Now, it's not to say that either of these are wrong or bad in any particular way. But if we only have the ability to be in one position, that's when the problems can arise. So this pelvic rock exercise is a good way to learn how to actually create movement through the pelvis. Now the exercise is done on the floor, flat on our back, and we're going to be with a bent knee position similar to a bridge. And one cue I want you to think of is think of the pelvis as a bowl. And imagine if that bowl was filled with soup or some sort of liquid. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt the pelvis in different directions. So if I do a posterior tilt, meaning my hips are going to tilt backwards, that would be like pouring the liquid out the back side of the bowl. And when I go into an anterior tilt, I tip the pelvis forward. That's like pouring the soup or the liquid out the front side of the bowl. And I find this analogy useful because that's exactly what we're going to do with the pelvis. We're going to tilt it back and forth in both directions. So it's helpful if you actually take your hands and make the letter C and place them on the hip joint itself, especially in the beginning, so you can actually cue yourself to move the pelvis back and forth. So we're going to begin with a tucking motion or a posterior tilt in which we're going to round our lower back. So our lower back is flat against the floor. Hold it there for a moment. And then we're going to tip it forwards. So my lower back is coming off the floor. And I'm actually using my hands to move my pelvis mechanically, especially in the beginning. So I can use my thumbs to pull my hips under and then use my other fingers to pull my hips forward. And after a while, I shouldn't need my hands anymore, so I can bring them up and just move my hips by using the muscles around my pelvis. You'll notice it's a subtle motion. It's not a big, crazy exercise, but that doesn't mean it's not valuable, because I'm learning how to actually move my pelvis back and forth. One cue that many people will mess up on, especially in the beginning, is they'll kind of use their hips. They'll almost start to do a bridge motion especially when they're trying to tuck. So I want to keep my legs relaxed, just like I want to keep my upper body relaxed. And I just want to try to create the motion in this very subtle way, rocking the pelvis back and forth. With breathing, I'm going to exhale as I tuck and flatten my back against the floor. And when I tilt my hips forward, I'm going to breathe in. Tuck, exhale. Tilt forward, inhale. Now, as you progress and you learn how to do that motion from this supine lying down position, you're going to want to progress and begin how to learn how to do it from a kneeling position, and then eventually to a standing position. But that'll be for another exercise video. In the meantime, just learn how to do it from the supine lying down position. And this is how you perform the supine pelvic rock.